How often are you on the internet and you just see something on a website that you think is really cool and you just wonder how they built it? Take a look at this really cool page progress slider on the Supabase website. Supabase is a super easy and fun to use database service. Welcome to episode 3 of the 100 Days of Code video series. Today I'm going to try to build this exact same feature using just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It should be pretty straightforward, but I've never built it before, so we'll see how it goes. Let's get into it. First things first, as always, we're going to create a repo for this. And if you're new here, you're going to be able to contribute to every repo along the way in the 100 Days of Code video series. So at the end of this video, make sure to check out the repo and see how you can contribute. Let's get started with the HTML. I'll create an index.html file and just set it up with some boilerplate. First thing I'll want in here is a nav, and inside we'll have a wrapper, and you'll see why once we get to the CSS. And the only thing we're going to have in here is an H1 that says page progress, and then our progress container, and inside the progress container we're going to have our actual progress bar. I'll call this progress and also give it an ID of progress so that we can work with it in the JavaScript. And then lastly, we're just going to create 4 empty sections. Now that we have it up in the browser, let's set up an app.css file. As always, make sure to link it in the HTML file so that it actually does something. I'll get the CSS file started off with some basic code to reset the browser defaults, and then I'm going to set up a primary color in the body, and this is going to be more of a purple color. Next, we'll target the nav, and we'll just set the font family to sans serif because I really just don't like the default font family. We'll set the background color to white, and for the position, we'll want to set that to sticky, and you'll see why once we start scrolling. We'll set the top to 0 and the z index to 10. Now let's target the wrapper that's inside of the nav. We'll set the position of this to relative, and we'll give it a little bit of padding, and that should be it for the wrapper. Now the H1, we're going to set the color to our primary color variable that we set up just a little while ago. And then for the span, we're just going to drop the font weight to just 100 and set the opacity to something like 0.6. And now we get this cool little H1. Now let's target the progress container itself. We'll set the width to 100% and we'll set the position to absolute. We'll set the top to 100% and the left to 0. And this is so that our progress bar will sit at the very bottom of our nav. Now for the progress bar itself, we'll give it a height of just 0.25 rem. We'll set the background color to our primary color that we set up, and you should instantly be able to see it on the nav bar now. We'll give it a little bit of border radius to make it somewhat round, and that's going to be it for the progress bar. And now we're going to work on the sections, which are actually very easy. We're just going to set their height to 100 view height. We're going to give them a background color set to our primary color, and we're going to set the opacity to 0.5. And now we want to target every other section, and this is super easy. We'll just say section with the pseudo class of nth child even, and we'll set the opacity to those to 0.2. And now we have some differentiation between the 4 sections. Believe it or not, that's it for the CSS, so let's hop right into the JavaScript. And just like the CSS, we're going to need to link that in our HTML, so don't forget to do that. It took me a little while to figure out how to do this, but it was actually pretty straightforward. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to say window.onScroll equals function, and inside there we're going to set up a function call to a function we haven't created yet. We're going to call it update progress. So let's go ahead and create that function now. In here we're going to say let scroll position equal document.documentElement.scrollTop or document.body.scrollTop. Next, we'll set up one more variable. We'll say let height equal document.documentElement.scrollHeight minus document.documentElement.clientHeight. Now we have everything we need to do a little bit of math. We're going to say let scrolled equals, and in parentheses we're going to say scroll position divided by height times 100. And this will give us our percent value that we want. So at the top of the file, let's create one more variable. We'll say let progress equals document.getElementById, and we'll locate our progress bar that we set up in the HTML. And just under our scrolled variable, we'll say progress.style.width is equal to, and we'll interpolate that scrolled value and then add the percent sign behind it. And that's all we're gonna need to do. So if we pop into the browser and we start scrolling, you'll notice that we now have this awesome scroll bar whenever we scroll the page up and down. Pretty neat. I honestly thought it would be a lot more complex than it was, so that just goes to show if you just break things down, you can build anything you want. I'm gonna go ahead and push these changes up to GitHub. This project won't have any issues since there really are no issues to figure out and fix. So if you want to contribute to this project, add a cool feature, change the color scheme, or add some cool content to this little website. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in episode 4 here pretty soon. Until then, have fun and happy coding.